What is happening here? I'm gonna remove the engine. Well, I'm a little bit limited with the height of my old garage. I cannot even open the hood really. So I'm gonna take the hood off. I can still lower the car a little bit so I can get some more clearance for the engine. I measured the engine from the bottom of the oil pan to the highest point, and it's like 2 feet or so. Plus this mechanism here. When I go from here, 2 feet right there, I might have very tight clearance. If I lower the car a little bit, I might get it off of the engine bay without disassembling the bumper. I use the pencil to mark exact position of this bracket to the hood on both sides of the hood. So for the later installation, remove the hood support. Then you have to remove 2 bolts on each side, 13mm bolts. I use this big hook and I'm gonna wrap around this hook and my hood a cable or something so it can keep my hood basically in one steady position. And then if I remove those 2 plus 2 bolts, it's not gonna fall down on me. I'm not gonna go through every single disconnection of the wire connector or hoses you can see from the top. It's basically straightforward. What I recommend, just put some tape or whatever at the end of every open pipe, open hole. And I'll start with the AC compressor because I don't want to reclaim the AC. I don't have any tools for that. So I just would like to keep it inside like it is and then pull the engine out. I'll show you what is my idea here. So the compressor is held in place with 2 bolts and 1 nut. My idea is when I lift the engine a little bit more up, so this end goes a little bit above the chassis, I will be able to slide this compressor off of it and leave it here in the engine bay. Then the next thing is the exhaust. This is the right hand side, so there's held by 3 bolts, and the auto sensor is in my way for the one of them. But there is another option just behind the cut. There are 2 bolts on that flange there, so I'll try to disconnect it right there. Talking about the right hand side, I'm not gonna go with those 2 bolts on the bottom, but instead I'm gonna disconnect the flange with 3 bolts right before the cat. It will be easier, and it's the easy access to those bolts. So now I'm on the passenger side wheel well. Following this rod, you have to loosen this one first, and then you'll be able to get this one out. And there is one more bolt right here. Once you remove the exhaust from the turbo on right hand side, and of course the exhaust pipe on the left hand side, you can slide them away to the driver's side somewhere so it can open up some room here. Those 3 bolts which are holding the bracket to the transmission. So this is the 1 bolt and the second, and there is a third in the dark. I'm gonna take my flashlight here. You can see the third right now, right? So the next thing we will do, we have to open this black plastic cover and get to the flywheel, and there are a couple of bolts we have to take off. It's a one-hand operation. Alright. Surprise, no bolt. So in order to see one, we have to turn the engine over. So in order to loosen this bolt, you need to stop the flywheel from spinning. So I use my needle nose pliers. I just jam the one end between those two teeth and the oil pan. Then with my second hand, which I wish I have like 3 hands now right now, it's 18mm bolt. Now a little extension on my ratchet to break the torque. Oh yeah. Okay, have fun. I found 4. I don't know how much did you guys find. Just let me know. There is 4 bolts. So we can keep going, losing this thing up. Another 13mm, second 13mm, third, and there is one hidden just between the oil tube. Moving towards the front of the vehicle from the car, there are 2 more from the bottom. So there are 4 more bolts from the top. It's right behind the cable. So there's a second. And the third is hidden right next to the starter. And the fourth is right there. So 4 more bolts and the starter, and we should be able to separate the engine from the transmission. In order to remove the starter, you have to disconnect this shifter cable. So put the car in neutral and you pry up this top part like that and just push it out. And then there is this connection here. This is very easy. If it's in there, I'm gonna put it in there, but if it's in there, you just push it with a screwdriver, no brainer. I had some troubles to disconnect the connector from the transmission. It's right here. So see, it goes in. So once this lever is like that, so this is the locked position, you have to put your tiny screwdriver between the gray lever and that black piece which goes inside, and just pry it on it. And now you can disconnect it. Voila! Connector is out. You have an idea right now, right? So I disconnected all those wires beside this one. So this wire going down, there is a heat shield, goes between the heat shield and the block. I would have to drop the turbo, and I don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it. The beast is released. I got everything loosened up, and I had some troubles with this bracket. Almost damaged the turbo, but I did not. And I'll show you where it goes. Just keep an eye on it, because the version with turbo is different than non-turbo. Let's pull it out. So in order to pull the engine out, you have to disconnect 2 bolts from this bracket. And here is the other bracket, like that. And I disconnected, I removed those 3 bolts here, the triangle, but there is one more here and on the bottom, so there are 2 more. And why you have to remove this bracket? Because here on the bottom where my finger is, here, moving finger, goes this hose in this configuration, and there is no chance you can pull it out without disconnecting this pipe from the turbo first and blah blah blah. But I believe it's easier to disconnect this bracket and you're good to go. And my AC stayed untouched, so I didn't have to reclaim it. The compressor is sitting here, and all you have to do is unbolt 2 bolts and 1 nut and slide it. When you leave the engine up, slide it towards the radiator here, and it stays like that. AC compressor sits on this long bolt. I didn't try really to take it off, but yeah, once the engine is a little bit higher in the engine bay, just grab the AC compressor and slide it towards the radiator. Alright, the engine is out. Now the real work starts.